you take the perfect family photo when you're like, shut up, Billy, you fucking piece of shit. And then it's like everybody smiles like, snap. And then that goes on the Instagram.
And the caption is something like, very nice.
Right.
You know?
Living my best life or whatever. Podcast that releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any individuals associated with the Biffler. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
I haven't left the house since Friday.
Lori hasn't left the house since Friday, she said pridefully. Tonight is Monday, May 25th, 2026, a somber and reflective Memorial Day.
There were helicopters flying over our house because of the lacrosse game that was going on. It was awesome.
No kidding.
Yeah? Because of lacrosse? We got a helicopter
we had the
fly over?
It's the national championship.
But there's got to be more to it. Did some important kid play for one of the lacrosse teams? Or what
Memorial Day National Championship.
Oh, they're doing some sort of like a flyover thing like they do with Braves game? Okay, gotcha. I thought it was like a security measure.
No, it was like yesterday and then again today.
That makes sense.
Badass helicopters. Not the hospital helicopter or the police ones.
Were they, I take it they're loud?
They were loud and green.
Oh, yeah, they shake the whole house when they go by. You have a good weekend, Dave? Good Memorial Day extendo break here?
So, this weekend, I don't know what it was like for you guys up there, but we had a weekend washout here. So Memorial Day in Atlanta is Jazz Festival weekend, and it's at Piedmont Park, which is a couple miles e-bike ride for me. Nice little stroll. I go there and just listen to jazz, which I've said in past episodes I'm not fond of. But, nice scenic place. Sit down, listen, grab a drink, very festive environment. But the whole weekend, rain or threat of rain. Like, you can't commit to anything. Like, it's like, oh, it stopped raining for like 30 seconds. Maybe the worst is past, and then, like, it comes back. And so I did not bother to listen to music that I did not care for. So I just stayed home mostly this weekend. It was a lot of fun. I went to the movies, I had to, in the 4th of July, in like 6 weeks, there's a Peachtree Road Race. I've been like running. And because of all of the rain, I was trying to time it. And because it didn't work out, I just ran in the rain. And it was fine.
It's nice.
Did we lose Bob?
Bob went away, yeah.
There you go.
There he is.
Oh, I missed that whole story.
Yeah.
Oh, he ran in the rain.
Oh,
yes,
went for a run in the rain?
Well, I couldn't avoid it. I was trying to time it. These weather apps are totally useless. The 45%. Give me more information. I need to know what is happening in the next 60 minutes. But I couldn't time it just right, so I just got caught in the rain, and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, we had a bunch of rain up here, too. We had to... I fortunately didn't have to cancel any baseball except for a little something on Sunday, which I wanted to get in. But, very, very wet here as well. I need the rain to chill out for the next couple of days because we have 2 playoff games happening tomorrow night, 2 playoff games happening Wednesday night, and the last majors game of the season on Thursday night, championship game for one of the divisions on Friday, and then a whole day of games for another division on Saturday and the other championship game on Sunday. There is no wiggle room in our schedule for the next week. So the rain needs to fuck off and the sun needs to come out, and we can dry everything out real nice tomorrow and get the baseball in.
Many moons ago, there were these conspiracy theories where the government was messing with the weather, like DARPA or HARP or some sort of thing. Where are they at? Can't they manipulate the weather to where it rains like in the morning, like when no one is, like overnight during the week? That way the weekends are nice and clear.
Hang on.
they're choosing to instead manipulate Bob's internet.
Oh yeah, that's it. I think that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Many moons ago, what?
Many moons ago, there were all these conspiracy theories. I think we talked
God
about it
fucking
in the
damn it.
first iteration of the Bob and Abe show about.
Every time we try to talk about the weather modification systems,
The thing, just talk about something else.
Yeah.
internet shits the bed on my end. And yes, I also recall conversations on late night conspiracy radio about how Lori wouldn't mute her microphone.
Well, I was trying to talk to Abe.
Yeah, because of your connection, Bob. But I'm on this website here, the NOAA, and they're debunking this, that the federal government does not modify the weather. So I guess we could put that to rest. But yeah, I do remember there was a time where people.
No, they're like zapping the ionosphere or something.
Yeah, they're
like,
doing some sort of gimmick thing. But they seem to be the weather is just so random. Like, we have like a month where we get no rain, and then like 12 days of just nothing but, and it's just not timed correctly. So if they are,
I was reading some piece about how the El Nino is coming this year, and it might be a real bad one.
oh yeah,
And for us, that would mean a wet time. For like the Indian subcontinent, it can mean a very dry time.
oh
And how they were saying, like, perhaps this explains a lot of the like awful movements or problems in history, where like Egypt would have a fucking plague and everybody would starve, and it's all because of El Nino.
but they didn't have El Nino back then. The placeholder was like the wrath of God. It was the good old days.
Right, but that's what they're saying is it was probably just El Nino.
Yeah, that's right. But that's no fun. El Nino.
Yeah.
On an unrelated note, the other thing going on here in Atlanta, there's a troubling development. This is maybe over the last 10 days, we've had 3 or 4 separate incidents of stabbings in Atlanta, like within like 3 miles of where I'm recording right now. Like just random.
Oh yeah, a 3 mile radius, 3 mile e-bike radius around your apartment. You might say.
First of all, just to get ahead of any sort of suspicion, the first couple, I was in Detroit. It was that weekend where I was out of town, so it couldn't have been me. And then after
How
that,
convenient.
How many stabbings do you think happened in Detroit that weekend?
there weren't any. It was a very quiet weekend in Detroit. Anywhere I go, nothing bad happens. It's just, anytime I leave someplace, something bad happens. But it's very weird because, gun violence, very common thing, old hat almost for America. Like in Europe, like when I was in London, stabby, they're very stabby over there. Maybe they don't have as much access to guns. But we don't have too many stabbing activities here in Atlanta. And then all of a sudden, over the span, like I said, of like 10 days, there were like, I think 4. And one of them was like fatal. And the other 3 are, just stabbings.
Well, once you get one that makes the news, now they're going to be searching the hospital records for all of the stabbings that.
Oh, you think it's like one of those things? It's been happening under the surface, and now, yeah. But it's just very weird that that's happened. Hopefully, that was the end of it.
All right, the news. Let's talk about some of the news. I don't know that there's anything to say about Iran these days. There's a settlement that is apparently going to be reached or might be reached soon or has been reached, but they're still banging out the details or something, and Trump says it could, at his leisure or at his pleasure, it's going to go through. I don't know what any of that means.
This is how many times has this report come out? Like we're like, hey, we're close to some sort of resolution, and then things kind of fall apart. What's interesting this weekend, I was kind of perusing the Twitter area or X, which I don't recommend. But when the reports were coming out that there was some sort of agreement in place and it sounded like not a good deal, it would be like a pallets of cash kind of situation where there'd be some unfreezing of funds. There was a big blowback by the conservative side saying, oh, this is terrible, don't do it. And then like the deal didn't go through. I don't know if that had any role in them slow walking it, because it looked like it was going to be a done deal, and then they're like, oh, it'll take a few more days to kind of settle it. As we're speaking right now, I just got a breaking news alert saying that the U.S. conducted strikes in southern Iran.
The war's back on then.
So I don't know how that complicates things. But that's happened before, where there'd be like a period of calm and then be like a strike, but it didn't derail things. So maybe this won't derail the current effort.
Or maybe this is just one of those Memorial Day bombings.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's like in honor. Yeah, that's true.
In honor, yeah.
Like it could be that, but like it seems like every time there's some movement towards resolution, something undercuts it. Some sort of bomb. Maybe when they say that we're 5% from completion, but like that 5% must be important. That must be the whole thing, Like the 90+% that you've agreed to is probably not contentious. Yeah. It's just that 5%, however they're characterizing it, is the whole thing. And so like when
but anything that allows them to maintain any of their enriched uranium and maintain their grip on power makes the whole enterprise entirely worthless, right?
Right.
All that we will have revealed through this is that an air campaign against the Republic of Iran cannot succeed, that in order to have regime change, you must be willing to put boots on the ground and do real war. Which
was kind of known, but this kind of confirms it, right? Like basically there was a lot of argument saying that you can degrade a lot of the military capability, but if you wanted to get more out of whatever agreement you want to get to, you would need boots on the ground. There's no appetite for that now, and maybe because Iran knows that, they're kind of holding out. They're like, we can,
right. And they have revealed themselves to hold a rather important card in international relations, which is the evident ability to shut down the Strait of Hormuz at their will. So, what will the good have been here? I mean, and if you're going to say, well, we knocked back their ability to have a nuclear bomb by X number of days or months or years, then I guess that. But like, was that the plan? Was just to further delay their ability to get the bomb? Like, that was not the claim, certainly.
Right. And so, like, what are the options now? Like, either escalate. Basically, you would have to like escalate so you can have the dominant hand. I mean, the U.S. has the upper hand, but not enough, obviously. But if you don't escalate, then you would have to just kind of live with it. Just kind of like, not capitulate, but just kind of settle this out. Just open up the strait, and then we'll do this negotiation thing for the next 60 days, and then nothing will come of it, and people will move on. Like, it seems like that's one path, just to kind of like get to status.
What's funny is, like, you could have, if they had chosen to sell this in a certain kind of way, which is, it appears that they killed on the low end, like I think they acknowledge like 6,000 or 10,000 or something. Like I think Iran themselves are like, yeah, we killed a bunch of people, right? Like, but then the international watchers and the United States are like, no, it might have been like 30 or 40,000 people or something that were killed.
Right.
What was it, December? Like if you had just said that was something that is patently unacceptable to the international community, and with Israel, the United States is going to react to that in this profound way, and we're going to attempt to degrade Iranian military assets and defensive assets as much as possible because of this completely unacceptable. Like if that had been your move, just like a retributive police action, effectively, because they killed 40,000 of their own people, then you can maybe sell this as something that's like, we did it and we're done and now we're leaving, and status quo largely maintains afterwards. Right. But they can't harm their neighbors as much as they might have been able to.
You know, that's a good point. I do wonder why they don't. That wasn't the approach. Basically, have like a achievable thing to say. You know, in case things go sideways, like things are happening now, what you present to the public is going to be achieved, and say you have accomplished that. Like, you may want
And why are we paying $5 a gallon for gasoline right now? It's like, well, that's a small price to pay, because of the awful human rights abuses and the murder of 40,000 people in the streets, in that country, right? Like, and maybe it makes it ever so slightly more palatable to the average American asshole.
That could have been one approach. I don't know how much care American people have for the Iranian people, but I don't know, that could have worked. But just in general, there was a cavalier approach to this whole thing. There was no like coalition building. There was no like there was no like campaign of persuasion. It was just like, we'll just bomb them and we'll win and it'll be fine. And you bombed them, and here we are. Like, and now you have to kind of like, I don't know, try to find your way out. But like, if you had a plan in advance, you can execute it better. And now they're kind of learning from that mistake.
He's also, I mean, just on the political front at home, this has been, along with the Epstein stuff, the thing that has most taken a cleaver to the MAGA movement potentially and separated some of at least the thought influencers,
Right.
The media types from the Trump administration or from Trump himself as a result of what they've done in Iran, which is, we're not going to start any unnecessary foreign wars. It was sort of his whole brand back in 2015. He told Jeb that his brother was a dummy for going to Iraq, basically, right? And he, it was sort of the whole thing. And then he goes and does this, which alienates the Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and others' end of things.
Right.
And then also has him breaking with somebody like Thomas Massie, the libertarian-leaning Republican congressman from Kentucky, who's, I believe, serving out his 7th, something like that, term in Congress. He was a Tea Partier type.
Right.
And like a Freedom Caucus OG. And now was just primaried this past week and will be giving up his seat.
And not over like policy necessarily, just because like you have crossed Trump, and that's like not acceptable. Like
right. Well, he worked with Ro Khanna to pass the Epstein stuff, which Trump ultimately signed. I think it's worth.
Yeah, but it is worth noting.
He signed the law.
It was
that made him so mad.
Right. It's worth noting though that it was overwhelming vote, so like it would have been even more embarrassing had he not signed it and they overrode the veto on this issue. Like basically, like the Republican Party is lockstep with you in everything, and then like this Epstein thing comes out and you veto it, and then they have the votes to put it over the top to make it law anyway. So once he failed to get the Boebert, I think they tried to get on side, and some other people to get on side, and it didn't work. And so once that failed, they just kind of like, all right, fine, we'll sign it. But now he's gone after Massie. He's lost. What's interesting about Trump, and he's kind of unique as far as presidents go, is that he is so unpopular, like as far as the overall approval rating. Like he's like in the George Bush late second term, the Jimmy Carter, like very like low third, like the area where you don't want to be. And typically what happens when you are that low in the polls is that people on your side are more emboldened to be critical or to distance themselves from you or to take a vote that's not popular because you don't have the political clout to do anything about it. But that's not Trump's case. He is very weak overall, but still very strong within the party, and he was able to kick out Massie and also kick out Cassidy, the senator.
Right, but how much of that is just a function of George W. Bush realizing that he would be a detriment to someone if he endorsed them, right?
Right.
Like the reason that the political power wanes for a president who's unpopular is because they recognize that, like, if they open their mouths here, their endorsement isn't worth anything, and it might, in fact,
But in this case, it is worth something because, like, he wanted Cassidy out and he's out. He wanted Massie out and he's out.
Right, because he's forever shrinking the sphere of influence that he actually has. Now, the influence has not waned,
right?
But the effect is on an ever smaller number of people, right?
But it covers a lot of
it's just the core.
But it's a pretty big core, right? I mean, and now he's throwing his weight behind Paxton over Cornyn, like a very reliable conservative senator over some guy who the Republican Party in Texas went after for corruption. Like he's not like
and for what reason? And it's just because he doesn't vibe with John Cornyn, right? Because it's not like John Cornyn has been nothing but supportive of Trump. He did not vote in the way that
Cassidy did.
That Cassidy did, which was to vote for the impeachment after the January 6th stuff, which is why he went after Cassidy and why Cassidy won't be in the Senate moving forward.
Right.
Cornyn is just sort of milquetoasty and like just isn't enough of a crazy asshole effectively.
Right.
It's just that he doesn't care for the guy's style. Like he's just too much of a nothing. And and Paxton is a lunatic, and so he's
Right,
going to get behind the lunatic.
But to what end? That's what I don't understand. You have a reliable senator in Texas who can fend off a Tallarico, right? Like Cornyn could beat Tallarico in November. Paxton,
Because he's never cared about the political ends. It's why it was Herschel Walker.
Yeah, that's what
in Georgia.
Yeah, so
Right.
that's what I'm saying. So like, you would want to preside over your handpicked guy could result in a Democratic senator for the first time in like 30 plus years, right? Like, I mean, this guy could fuck it up. I mean, he's got a lot of skeletons in his closet. This general election, more can come out. Who knows? But like, he seems to not care about like that. Like, and also the other thing, what's interesting about Massey and Cassidy and whomever else comes out of this is that just because you lose the primary doesn't mean your term is up. You have this lame duck window, right? And so like, there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal, and there's nothing more petty than a lame duck politician, right? So like, what's in it for an excommunicated Massey and a outcast Cassidy to be voting for things that they don't necessarily support, but they want to be a team player, right? There's no incentive for them to do that the rest of the way. Like, what sort of policies or bills are going to be passed this year with all of these people who have been kicked out of the party? Like, it seems like, again, another thing where you're not looking at what consequences will come if you take these actions. It's just like, I want to demonstrate my power. Like, that's all that matters. I want to be able to point at these seats and say, I did that. I caused this guy who was many times over a member of Congress from that district, and now he's out, right? And that seems to be the only concern, and not like what will come in November as a result of these decisions.
Right. The politics of it have never mattered to him, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he does not actually care about a Republican political agenda or anything like that. This is not new. This is just the cult of personality being entirely laid bare, right? Like it is just his personal id unleashed to the detriment of the Republican Party. And like, I don't see, again, and this is something that I said years ago, that Trump getting the nomination in 2024 would ultimately be the death of the Republican Party. And it's hard to imagine the Republican Party actually coming apart. But when you consider that they're going to have taken a perfectly stable Republican in Texas, and I mean, this hasn't happened yet, to be clear. The primary is taking place on Tuesday.
Right.
Trump's endorsement is for Paxton. It is sort of a semi-interesting question. Did he endorse Paxton because he believed that's the way the wind was blowing and therefore wanted to get ahead of it? Or did he do so because he actually wants to shit on Cornyn for some inexplicable vibes-based reason?
I think it's the former. Like, I remember when the runoff was forced, like back in March when the first election happened and it was going to be a runoff. I remember Trump, or maybe somebody on his camp, said that Trump is going to basically be the kingmaker here, like, because we don't want the Republican Party to be spending so much money between March and now on this grueling runoff. So basically, like, Trump was going to say, I'm going to pick somebody, and I want the other person to drop out so we can reallocate resources, blah, 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 blah. And then immediately Paxton came out and says, like, I'm in it to win it. Basically got ahead of it. Because maybe he heard that he was being lobbied, Trump was, by the Senate Republicans to say, like, you need to back Cornyn. We need to preserve the Senate. And so maybe Paxton and his camp heard that, and they got ahead of it by saying, we're staying no matter what, before Trump made his announcement. And then Trump did not go through with it. He did not endorse anybody at that time, but he has now. And I'm thinking that's the reason why he would do that, is because things have shifted toward Paxton.
Right. But it represents a hollowing out of the Republican Party and a further turn towards it being just about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Which is what Paxton effectively represents. And, I mean, if there's a reason why he's endorsing Paxton at this point rather than Cornyn, it's because Cornyn is sort of his own dude here, right? And Cassidy was sort of his own dude.
Right.
Cassidy, what's funny is, like, it seems like he let the RFK nomination go through. Like he could have, he's a physician himself,
Right.
and he had some tough questions for RFK Jr. when he was nominated for HHS director
Secretary.
and secretary, and then he let it happen. Like clearly against his better judgment, he let RFK. He gave RFK Jr. his vote. In the hopes of getting back on Trump's good side
Right.
when it comes to his own political future. And that didn't happen because he crossed the uncrossable line, right? He voted to impeach over January 6th, and there's no coming back from that once the betrayal has been made. I just have trouble seeing how the Republican Party recovers from having a president with an approval rating in the mid-30s who they can't do anything but listen to.
Yes, and that goes into 28, right? Basically, like after this midterm ends, the presidential campaign season begins in 27, right? So, Trump, you would have to kind of cater your messaging towards Trump if the economic outlook remains bleak. If you want to run for office in 28, you would have to break away from that record, right? But you can't because Trump is going to go after you. So, like, what do you do if you're a Republican going into the 28 presidential election?
Right. We're going to have an historically unpopular president who's going to have fully endorsed and not been quiet about it, J.D. Vance in all likelihood. I think that's where we're headed.
You don't think Rubio is going to try to campaign for like a Trump's endorsement?
He can't do it while he's part of the administration. It
But,
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but isn't Vance also in the administration? Like, aren't they both tied to
Yeah, but
this?
he's the vice president.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah,
Rubio has 6 jobs within this. He's effectively, like, he's a major part of the administration, and he cannot deviate from Trump in any meaningful way. I just don't see how Rubio can make a go at JD in the way that he would need to.
Yes.
Like, you can't have a knockdown drag out between these two dudes who refuse to say anything or who are going to have to not allow for any space between themselves and whatever the president thinks. Right. So what are they going to be fighting over? How are they going to distinguish themselves from one another if they can't allow for any space between what Donald thinks? And it's like Trump will wait until he can see which way the wind is blowing, but I think it's obvious that it has to be J.D. Vance. I think Rubio is a much more talented politician, and he's much more palatable to me, despite everything that's gone on in the last 2 years that I have serious problems with.
Right. And also the one thing about J.D. Vance, the vice president, is that his association with this Peter Thiel guy is very unsettling, and I don't know what his administration would look like. I think Rubio, I can kind of predict how it would go. It would be mostly fine, but like with J.D. Vance, who knows? But he's also a bit of a stiff. Like, he's not a very charismatic person in the way a politician would need to be the president. So, like, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, I don't think Rubio has it in him either in the way that current politicians sort of need to, right? I mean, he's no Obama, he's no George W. Bush in terms of personal appeal.
No second at bat for DeSantis, you don't think? Like, I'm trying to think, like, outside of the Rubio and Vance, like, if there was going to be somebody that was going to be not attached to the administration but also has a pretty solid conservative reputation, who can do the different direction. We need to get back to our roots, and we've kind of strayed from that, to make that case in the campaign, because like neither Vance nor Rubio can make that. So like there would need to be like somebody else. Like I jokingly said like Tucker Carlson was going to be the guy in 24. I don't think he's going to do it.
You weren't joking. You were so serious.
That's how I joke. Seriously. But like there does need to be somebody to inject that into the campaign. I can't imagine it'll just be a two-person race. I don't know if Nikki Haley.
I suspect that like Thomas Massey is one who's going to run, and he will run in the Tucker lane effectively. I think that he is not an appealing national figure.
Yeah.
He will never garner more than 3 or 5% in a Republican primary type situation. But I also don't understand the appeal of Ron DeSantis either. Like,
Yeah.
I find him deeply unappealing. He's willing to fight the culture war battles, and so people will go to his side. But it's not. I don't think he has any sort of unifying.
I mean, 24 was his to win because after the 2022 midterms, when he had a very spectacular showing, right? Like after, because he squeaked by in 2018, and then he dominated in 2022. I think it was like the Crest or whomever he went up against. And then it looked like he's the heir apparent. Trump, January 6th, he's on the outside looking in. And so DeSantis was the heir apparent, and then he just kind of crashed and burned. So I don't know if he has any aspirations to try again after what happened in 24.
Yeah, I don't know. But I keep coming back to this idea that it's going to be incredibly difficult for the Republican Party to remake itself not in Donald Trump's image anytime soon. Like, I just don't know what it's going to look like.
Well, I mean, you're just one election cycle away from winning again, right? Because the thing is, so if
right, but what will it? What? Yes, right. So
Right.
the Democrats presumably are going to win in 2028,
Right.
and then like if we have a time of relative prosperity and the person is relatively scandal free, you're likely to win it again after that.
Yeah, and that'll give you
but
time,
maybe-
4 to 8 years to kind of reassemble, and then Trump, it'll be long gone by then, by 36. So like.
It's just hard to imagine what the political conversation looks like when it's not about Donald Trump,
Yeah.
because it's been about Donald Trump since 2015.
Right. And
Like-
it will continue to be because there'll be, I'm sure, investigations and like all of the deal making and all the hard to, you mentioned at the top this, hey, you can't go after the family in perpetuity. That's not something that you can enforce because once the next administration takes over, they're not bound by your whatever the hell you wrote, right, or whatever agreement you wrote. So
Well, I was wondering that because, and you're talking about this settlement between Trump and the IRS, and to be clear, what happened was Trump sued the IRS for $10 billion because some third party leaked his tax documents back in whenever that was,
Right.
2018 or something, right? And so this was going to go before a judge, and the judge seemed likely to be like, this is bogus, like this is not
Right.
this is not going to
So
happen.
you can't be on both sides of the argument, right? You can't be right? Because like Trump is, as the head of the executive in the federal government, he's suing himself basically, right?
Right. But before a judge could step in and say this is bullshit, Todd Blanche came in and said, well, we've reached a settlement.
Right.
This one aspect of the executive branch has reached a settlement with this other aspect of the executive branch.
Right.
And it includes the famous $1.776 billion fund, which people are going to be permitted to apply to get a piece of if they've been wrongfully, in their minds, persecuted by the federal government.
The way that is structured is odd, right? Because like it can be done without people, knowing. Like you can submit it, and then there's some sort of board. I don't understand how that's going to work, but basically,
Well, it's just Trump, basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
With
and it
extra
goes
steps,
away.
yeah.
It goes away with the end of the Trump presidency.
right.
So it's just. I mean, it is described as in unfavorable press. It's described as a presidential slush fund that he can use to pay out to his pals, and that's effectively what it is.
But the thing is, okay, so this is all in the executive branch. Like the money branch is Congress, right? Congress did not allocate this money. So like, how is this going to be funded for if like the executive?
There's some convoluted argument that they're making about how it's just like this thing that Obama did. But that breaks down fairly quickly because Congress did appropriate money specifically for the thing that they're comparing it to.
Right.
So I don't know is the answer.
Yeah, so it's definitely not going to be included because like the ballroom funding did not get included. I think the parliamentarian ruled against that being tagged on to the reconciliation bill. there's not a lot of appetite on the Senate Republican side to go for some of these things, especially this slush fund, reparations fund, whatever you want to call it. Like, these are not popular measures. Like the tax cut, you can kind of argue, if you're a Republican, you can support any tax cut. But, like, who is this for? Like, it's just going to be bad optics where, like, January 6th types, like very low character types who have like other legal matters, are filing a claim to get money, and they can say that they've been approved because it's not a very out in the open kind of process. Like, they can just make the claim that they got money, and it's just going to make them look bad. So, like, I don't see what the incentive is for anybody in Congress to.
But it doesn't
this.
look so unless you understand this to be Trump effectively changing like he believes he's literally rewriting the historical narrative about January 6th, right? Where he can point to the federal government paid the people who protested on January 6th $1 million each because of the unfair and unlawful prosecutions that I pardoned them for, right? So at first I pardon them and say it was the most beautiful day in American history, and then I turn around and create this bogus fund that is going to pay them out, basically like a civil damages fund for the harm that they endured on that great patriotic day. Then he will have effectively changed in the minds of the people who matter. He will have changed or at least firmly established the line of argumentation that they can use moving forward. And yeah, it's bad faith and it's bullshit, obviously.
Right. It's not going to go anywhere. But like,
well, but it doesn't have. The point is that it doesn't have to go anywhere, right? This is the way that the bullshit works. Is that you just have to give somebody the horseshit infrastructure to stand upon in order to make their bad faith claims.
But
and that's all he's doing.
To be fair, this is a very wobbly infrastructure because FBI infiltrators, Antifa people.
I know the point that you're making, and I apologize for interrupting you again. But the point is that he's not trying to act. It's like when people used to talk about how persuasive he is, right? That he's this master communicator and master persuader.
Scott Adams,
the Dilbert guy, was like, he's hypnotized us all. He's so good at this, right? And it's like, in order, like the way that I understand persuasion is that it is a consensus building exercise or a mind changing exercise where you take somebody who has one position and with reason or bullshit or whatever, you get them to your side of the fence. And that's never been Donald Trump's thing, right? He's not a persuader. He's not a master communicator. He's just going to assert the thing. And the people who agree with him are going to say, look, he's asserting it, and I agree with him. And so, like, that's all this is. It's not, and yes, it's a shaky infrastructure for establishing a new narrative, but it doesn't matter because 40% of the country is it's an encyclical from the Pope, right? Or it's gospel. It's literally just reading from the Bible of the cult, and so that's all it has to be.
And I guess time will tell if this scheme works. So that, to me, I don't think there's that big of a group that believes that January 6th was like a good thing. Like, I know that they may still support the president because they're on his side over the other side, but like just on that issue alone, I just can't imagine there's that. It's not 40%. It's some smaller number than that. But point well taken.
The other end of this was this weird sort of addendum to the agreement, which says that all current investigations and litigation against Trump, his sons, his family, and his business interests will no longer be pursued by this Justice Department. And the Justice Department is forever barred from investigating any of Trump's taxes, his business or personal or family taxes, up to this moment, right? Like up to the time of this thing. And so, like, all of the investigations into his previous shady tax sheltering stuff that he did, where he's like claiming write-offs far in excess of what should have been claimed, and any investigation into that stuff is simply not permitted to happen moving forward. And I thought as well, like, well, if this is just like an executive order, effectively, but from Todd Blanche, who's just an acting attorney general,
and his former personal lawyer.
It's like anybody competent and ethical moving forward, can make the pretty easy case that as Attorney General, I'm not bound by what the non-confirmed acting Attorney General, who used to be Trump's personal attorney, insisted I would be bound by.
Right.
Like, no. But like then I read Jeffrey Toobin in the Times, and he says, quote, a future Justice Department could try to investigate or charge Mr. Trump in spite of the Blanche document on the grounds that it was somehow corrupt and unenforceable. But such an action years in the future sounds like a law school hypothetical, end quote. So Toobin just doesn't think – Toobin thinks like it's just not going to – like they wouldn't bother effectively.
Right, but
this wouldn't be something that they pursued in the future.
But that would be a discretionary thing. Like there's no law preventing them. Like this memo or this agreement does not bind anybody. They may say it's not worth the effort to pursue, but there's no like obstacle beyond that.
I do think it is among the most like bald and naked instances of corruption and self-dealing that you can kind of think of, right? Like, I mean,
also, could you marry into the family, be included in this? Like, could you like work your way? You know, because it's the Trump and Trump family, but how far does the family extend?
Right, but so the concern is what is happening here, the setting of a precedent that because we have such a thoroughly broken political system, and that we keep electing worse and worse assholes at each step, you know, both down closer and closer to the local level because of the nature of primaries and Trump's influence in that way, and the fact that like it's hard to imagine like a non-Trumpy Republican coming up, and the fact that like Kamala Harris wants to run again for president, like, or Gavin Newsom, like, I mean, we get the politicians we deserve certainly, but the concern here is that as with the Biden pardons at the end, as with the Trump pardons of January 6th and the inevitable family pardons that he's going to unleash here before he's done, to ward off the sort of lawfare that he's so concerned with, does this establish a new class of citizen president who is effectively going to tell their attorney general that they're exempt from tax laws for whatever reason.
The thing is, presidents create precedent, right? So, like, if these ridiculous efforts are not pushed back by either Congress or the courts, like if this basically kind of holds, either based on like, oh, we're not going to bother, we'll let it slide, then what prevents the next president from doing something similar, like creating a slush fund for like protesters who were mistreated, in the streets, or any host of other issues? You can just create money out of thin air and give it to people that you like. And then say that this group is precluded from being looked into forever. Like that's okay, then it's just more corrupt practices becoming the norm, and it just makes everything worse. And I suspect that this is not where Trump will end. Like he's gonna do some. I mean, Biden kind of did the pardon thing, but like I suspect that on his way out, Trump is gonna do some extraordinary pardon thing for his entire cabinet, all the underlings, everyone in his orbit. Some sort of like, fuck you, I'm leaving. Nothing you can do about it. I want to be able to retire. Fuck off the last few years of my life without being involved in legal bullshit. And so if he gets away with all of that, I mean, the pardon thing is not in dispute. Like he has that authority, but all this other stuff.
I mean, he will absolutely have to. He will attempt to issue pardons for his family because they have enriched themselves to the tune of like hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in the last 2 years, and that is what the primary ongoing concern of the Trump family for the next 2 years will be. It is for the aggrandizement of their financial future and nothing else.
Right. Yes.
Trump is concerned with the media narrative and the sort of historical narrative about who he is and what happened on January 6th and all of that. I was reading about roasts recently.
Like the Netflix roast kind of thing, like the Kevin Hart thing?
Yeah, I forget why. I think they were talking about the Kevin Hart one. And they mentioned that Donald Trump was once roasted on Comedy Central back in the late 90s or early 2000s or something, probably early 2000s. And the only thing that was deemed off limits from Trump was that you could not make any jokes that he had less money than he claims to have.
Right.
That you could go anywhere, but you could not talk about, like, he's not actually as rich as he pretends to be.
Is that like a telling thing? Because, I've heard about this too, where whomever is on, Kevin Hart, Tom Brady, Trump, whomever else was there before, they have like their off-limit thing. And usually it's like, leave my kids out of it. It's something
Right.
like very reasonable. Like, hey, I'm a public figure, but I want my wife is private, but everything else, whatever. So like, it's interesting that Trump's make fun of everybody. I don't care. I'm a good sport, except for I'm projecting wealth, and you cannot get in the way of that projection. That's the one thing that's important to him.
And he has manifested that reality.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like, this is a guy who was just a game show host on television who pretended to be this real estate magnate billionaire who almost certainly was not. Was he wealthy? Sure. But he was also quite bankrupt through the years and had no tax liability 3 different times in the mid-2000s because of his real estate losses.
Right.
Or claimed losses, anyway.
Yeah, whatever claims he's made in the past, he is a bona fide billionaire now. Like this, and what's frustrating is that I'll sometimes see like Trump supporters on TV, and I shouldn't put too much stock into this, but they'll say like, "Oh, he didn't take a salary." Like, "Oh, he
sacrificed so much. He didn't need this."
like,
No one needed this more than Donald Trump did.
That's what's weird. It's like you have it exactly the opposite. It's like, what are you talking about? It's very weird that argument being made because you're right. To me, it will never make sense. This guy's 80 years old. How much more money do you need? You have enough money, to live out a very comfortable life the rest of your way. Why do you need a little more money? You're never going to catch up to Elon Musk, right? So instead of being like a $300 million net worth to like $5 billion.
It's his whole identity is the thing. Like the whole identity is I'm rich. Like I won at America and at life because the whole point is to just accumulate as much money as possible.
Right.
And he cannot give an inch on whether or not he's won
right.
effectively.
Yeah.
I wanted to briefly talk because we didn't record a news show last week. There have been there was the shooting at a mosque in California.
Oh, yeah, San Diego, right.
And then we had over the weekend, I think, somebody was killed a block or two from the White House after opening fire outside the ground. It did not make it onto the grounds of the White House, but Secret Service, I believe, put him down after he opened fire.
Yeah, there was some footage of like the reporters that are stationed right outside the White House, just like freaking like. It's always weird that people always fall back. Maybe it's just the optimist in people that are like, oh, maybe fireworks, maybe weather. They never go like, oh, that's a gun. Like it's never like
right.
immediately.
I think it's because it almost always is not guns.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Where like. If you come from a place where it's usually guns and you hear
if we were walking, if we were
Yeah.
filming on the streets of Chicago and we're doing a man on the street with somebody in a bad neighborhood,
Right.
and you hear the telltale sign of a bullet, that
That's
person
probably guns.
is going for cover
Right.
immediately.
Yeah. It started like, oh, what's going on?
Right. But the
it's not like, oh, must be a car backfiring.
the 37-year-old Columbia grad who works for ABC News, it's like, what's that curious sound? And then all of a sudden it's freak out
Yeah.
because somebody yelled.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a crazy person, I believe. He thought himself to be Jesus and had cut off contact with friends and family in recent years. The guy who died outside of the White House. That's just a crazy person, and maybe we can not overthink that. I was interested to hear about the one in California, though, because apparently the ideologies gets all very confused.
Right.
Their so-called manifesto was anti-Semitic in nature, and yet they are going to a mosque to.
Yeah, it's very And also,
Why is that?
was this a
Oh, because you can be anti both things.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's sort of what I'm getting at here, which is the thing that animates, and it's why like, because you look at this and it's like, these are almost certainly right-wing lunatics, right? The people who went and shot up the mosque and who had the anti-Semitic manifesto. And I don't mean right-wing and like where some people say that and they hear, oh, you're blaming Republicans for this.
Right.
And it's not at all what I'm saying, but it is a reactionary sort of ideologically fundamentally right-wing type of thing that they're coming from. It doesn't make it coherent. It doesn't mean that it isn't confused. And I'm not sure that it ultimately matters which side of things they might fall upon. I did have the thought that I think that we're likely to get more and more of this sort of the ideology or the underlying radicalization doesn't fucking matter. And it doesn't hold to any sort of political project that one can easily identify. That the fact that they're radicalized online and that there's very little it's in such little conversation with a recognizable political project that it's close to what I was talking about a few months ago, where I was like, does public opinion matter anymore, right? Because if we go to Venezuela and we extradite that president and bring him here, and we're going to and like 60% of Americans are like, hey man, what the fuck? And we do Iran, and 60% of Americans are like, what are we doing? This was not part of the deal. And Trump has 30-something% approval and still has total control over the who's in and who's out of the Republican Party. Does so much of our conversation about the world happen in internet space that what's actually happening in meat space, so-called, matters less now than ever before. And I don't know that I have a specific way of understanding it or explaining the thing that like why that makes me so desperately uncomfortable. But there's something about that disconnect between 90% of Americans, or whatever the number is, but like if you ask Americans, do you think the country's on the right track or the wrong track? And it's always the number is bad, but then it's like, well, but schools, right? So schools, they're terrible. My school is good,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Politicians are terrible, but we keep reelecting the same asshole in my district or whatever. There's a disconnect between what people believe about the world and the reality of them going about their everyday lives. Right. And when a couple of lunatics who have an anti-Semitic conspiracy brain poisoned by 4chan go out and shoot up a mosque in California, what reality do they imagine they're interacting with when they go out into the world? And is it just a fool's game for me to try to connect their actions to something coherent or something that we can have an actual conversation about when they're just internet poisoned, right?
Yes.
And it's like it was one thing when you talk about the Columbine kids, and like it was an interesting pop psychological thing that we did as a culture. Like, why? Right? What drives these two kids? Was it the video games or the music that they consumed? Was it just that were they bullied for being fags by the jocks or whatever? Right? Like, was there a specific culture in the lunchroom there that led to this inevitable result? But that felt like something that was worth pursuing. Right? Because it was this crazy outlier event. They went through their school. They asked kids, like, do you believe in God? And they shot them in the head when they said yes. Right. Like, it felt like something specific and tied to their experience of being in the world. When all of our interaction with the world is happening online, the sudden explosion of that into the real world feels disconnected and feels like something that's not even worth talking about. Like when the guy live streamed his attack on the mosque in
Christchurch, right?
In
New
Zealand.
Yeah.
That felt like weird video game shit just happening in real life, right? And that was clearly what his thought process was I'm going to first person shooter this, and it's going to be hilarious for all my dudes to get to watch it on the internet. And it's just it's a sort of nihilism that doesn't connect. Like, at least when Charlie Kirk had his neck exploded on in front of all of those people, you can look at the person who did it and be like, they seemed perhaps to be reacting to his negative comments about trans individuals, right? Like it sort of connects to something that's happening in the world. And there's something like entirely destabilizing and sort of scary about the fact that so many people have almost no interaction with the real world, seemingly. Right. And like whatever is happening in the real world is completely divorced. And like, I watch the local news and I feel relatively disconnected from what's going on in my own community sometimes, because it's like my head is in the New York Times 90% of the time.
Your head's in baseball.
Right now my head is in baseball, to be fair. But like, I get like so much of what consumes my brain about what's happening in our country is completely disconnected from my everyday experience of walking around in the world.
Right.
And I try to be a responsible consumer of media, right? Like not consuming short form Instagram and TikTok and going down weird rabbit holes on YouTube. I don't know. I'm done rambling. I'll let you react to all of the things that I've just said.
You know, one interesting thing that that's come out of this story is, okay, so first, this is a two-person shooter situation. Usually that's not the case. These are both teenage kids. I mean, one of them is an adult, 17 and 18 years old. The mother, by the way, the mother gets a plus and a minus. Minus for raising a would-be shooter, so not good for you, lady. But she was aware of the fuck-up, and she reported to the police that I think her weapons were not there, and so she was worried that her idiot child was going to do something bad. And so, like, I don't know how much that contributed to the limited number of people who died. I think the security guard did a lot of the heavy lifting there. But, like, as far as the motivation, these are 17 and 18 years old, mostly online, right? And so I wonder, I always think of like, okay, suicide implode, homicide explode, right? So you have people who they have challenging whatever situations and they lead to an implosion and they kill themselves and no one else, right? And other people, for whatever reason, I don't know how this works, they're more of the explosive person. Like they feel the same bad, but they want to take it out on somebody. And these two apparently fall in that second group. Now, as far as who to target, I don't know why they decided the mosque instead of like somewhere else or what have you, because I think the way they described it, they had a broad range of hate and included Muslims, included Jewish people. I'm sure they have some bad opinions about women or whatever. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of groups that they could have targeted. So, like, is it just happenstance that it happened to be a mosque this time? Because these kids could just be like, we are whatever, and we want to just take out on the world or pain or whatever it is, whatever nonsense that they're believing. So sometimes you do make more than what it needs to be, because sometimes you have a very clear case where this was deliberate, like this was an attack on whatever, and it was a well thought out thing. And sometimes it's just like these people were crazy and they wanted to take out their frustrations on a group, and this is who they targeted. It should be noted, not to tie this to the stabbings here in Atlanta, but the way that it's been characterized here in Atlanta is that seemingly random acts of stabbings, right? But I think in all but one case, women are the targets of these attacks. These guys are going after women. Now, I don't think these guys who don't know each other got together to say, let's do this on women. But sometimes these low character types will have these groups that they have animosity towards for whatever reason, and women will fall into that list. Jewish people historically have fallen into that list, and then in this case, Islamic Center was on that list. It could just be like, I just want to know who to attack, and it doesn't matter. I don't think there's much more to it than just that. They're
Yeah.
just like behaving out their whatever delusions they have in their heads.
There's a movie, a book that I read that I hated, and then a movie that was better than the book, but not really that good. Still, Ready Player One. It's
Okay.
a book by Ernest Cline, and then Spielberg adapted it into a sort of relatively
It
enjoyable.
was fun.
It's fine. I have big problems with the whole project as conceived by the author and as executed. But that's neither here nor there. The Spielberg movie did a good job of showing just how disconnected one's physical reality can be from one's presence in something like a metaverse. And it is interesting that Facebook has effectively abandoned, or Meta, I should say, has effectively abandoned their project as conceived by Zuckerberg of creating the metaverse and imagining a future in which essentially we are all living lives in a Ready Player One type future. Like they've had massive layoffs and shuttered big divisions, I think, over there at Meta in recent months. At the same time that we are as thoroughly grabbed by our devices and by our consciousness sort of living as in a world thoroughly mediated by the internet and by these devices, more so now than ever, and every day more than ever, and every day more children getting a smartphone and effectively plugging into the experience machine. And Ready Player One sort of showed us that world in an interesting way that I'm not sure that that's where we're going to wear these fancy VR goggles and fancy tracksuits that make us feel like we're that we're experiencing the experience machine in a tactile way. But metaphorically, as a way of where we choose to go with what we do with our consciousness, it is predictive of the current reality. And I just wonder what the effect of that is going to be when we live lives entirely mediated, where all of our reality is mediated by the device, and like when I'm not, and yeah, like I'm a slightly weird case, and even Lori is a slightly weird case because like your job is to interact with people all day long, right?
It's terrible.
Right, it sucks. But like the knowledge,
I get why no one does that.
the knowledge class has most of their experiences are going to be mediated by these devices, these communications devices, and further as AI and the AI agents and other pieces of software become more advanced, we will be playing further all of our interactions with other presumed human beings on the other end of the line are going to be mediated by the algorithm and by the software devices. And I just wonder what that's going to do for our experience of the world, right? Like I get a great deal of physical interaction with the world during baseball season, certainly.
Right.
But
Well, okay, so most people go to work and at least they have their coworkers there. School kids still are interacting with school kids, and then there are all these, baseball concerts, what have you. So there are all these opportunities for people to congregate, and I don't see a world where none of that happens.
But when you go to the Jazz Fest, if you had this weekend, what percentage of the people would have been standing there with a bored look on their face, holding their phone up so that they could post it to their TikTok or their Instagram?
That's true.
Later?
Yeah. Basically, they're going out into the world to generate content for this fake world online. It's just kind of weird. It's backwards,
Yeah, but also, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I keep reading and hearing about young people wanting to be on their phones less and not knowing how, but seeking out actual human interaction. And like you said, like Facebook was going to take over everything, and it was like nobody wants that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they failed. It's that there's not an audience for that.
It's that they didn't appreciate that what we actually want is just more television, right? Like,
Yeah.
and like what's actually going on, like Mark was like, no, everybody wants to live in the AI virtual world. And it's like, well, yeah, if they can sit there and watch their television in the AI virtual world,
Right.
that might be what they want.
Yes.
But effectively what they want is 10 to 90 second bursts of entertainment to flit across their faces.
Right.
Or 10 minutes or
all day
half
long.
an hour.
Right. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know who was advising Zuck on this, but like that didn't seem like an ideal way to spend your life. If you were like, maybe immobile or people who could not move anywhere, that it would work for them. Maybe like some sort of reward for some prisoners, well behaved. You can get on this machine, if you don't stab your neighbor.
Right. It's like the Segway human transporter
Yeah.
was going to transform life for every pedestrian and citizen in the country.
Right.
But in reality, it just turned out to be like a really good gyroscope, and it made some people's wheelchairs better or something. Right. Like,
but then also, then you have do you credit the scooter invasion that we have in many major cities? I don't know if I'm sure you've seen a bunch of them when you were in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure.
They're basically like inspired by the Segway. Like, this is like you need something to move, but it's not as clunky, and it could just be like pick up and go and drop off wherever and go about your day.
And crucially, they're like $600 to the manufacturer or something, rather than
however many thousands it was.
exorbitant amount of money the Segway was going to be.
Right. So basically, like that idea was maybe premature, kind of like the van, the grocery thing from 20 some odd years ago.
Web
now you
van,
have
yeah.
So now you have all these other apps that accomplish similar goals, but it was just 20 years too soon. So maybe in like 15 years there'll be some goofy meta thing that's not Zuck's creation, but just like the environment is ripe.
And maybe it's just chicken littling or my fundamental sort of, like, I'm not a Luddite, but like there's a certain skepticism, of course, about the way that we adopt these things
Well, you're just a pessimist.
I mean, I don't think so. I think I'm an optimist, but
Well, not on this podcast.
You're taking the scenic route to optimism, I see. Get in there.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, without chicken littling too hard here, I think that the internet was initially sold as, and Facebook, for example, still calls it like, we want to connect people or whatever, right? And the internet optimists' view was this was going to be the greatest democratizing force that the world has ever known. And we are going to connect human beings with one another from one side of the globe to the other. It will be a loneliness destroying machine, right? Like, who could possibly be lonely in a world in which we are all connected?
Right.
And I think it is fair to say, whatever percentage you buy into the Jonathan Haidt hypothesis about like what Instagram did to a generation of teen girls, and is doing in an ongoing way, right, in terms of their mental health. It has not been a loneliness destroying machine. It has, in fact, been the opposite, that these are devices that tend to isolate at the same time that they create this sort of false sense of community where you think, are there examples of people who have made friends online and had meaningful relationships grow out of that? Yes, sure, absolutely.
Well, and then there's like the communities. I mean, I think of like the infertility stuff and like someone going through in vitro. They don't know anyone in their real life that can relate to this specific thing, so they can go on Reddit.
And they'll find a community there. Yeah,
there's actual help there. It's also bad, but so are real life people.
Right. You know what's interesting? I always think of, a lot of people say, like, should we do this? Should we allow this to happen? But it seems like it's inevitable at the population level. Basically, as an individual and people in your orbit, you can decide how to navigate what comes. But the internet wasn't up for debate. AI is not up for debate.
And I'm not saying that I have that I think we should turn it off or whatever. I just think, in terms of whether I'm chicken littling or not, it has been a loneliness enhancing machine,
Yeah.
in my opinion, rather than a loneliness destroying machine.
Right.
And alone, maybe a more appropriate way of putting it is that the way that we interact with our connected devices now is it contributes to physical aloneness. Right. The bowling alone phenomenon. That is often discussed.
Right.
So not necessarily loneliness, because as you say, I can chat with whether it's an AI or whether it's a cancer support group or whatever, I can be made to feel less lonely in the moment at the same time that I am alone. So an aloneness enhancement machine that also disconnects you from physical reality, that makes you less aware of the reality of the world around you, and has a tendency in people who are unbalanced or otherwise seeking to radicalize, right?
Yeah.
And is going to and has demonstrably resulted in, or at least in my opinion, it can be correlated with an explosion of unpleasant public life. A degradation to fine. You blame Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe it's all Donald Trump's fault, or maybe it has something to do with the way that we all communicate with one another these days. That groundwork was fertile, or the ground was fertile for someone like for this populist explosion that's not just happening in America, but is in fact happening all over the Western world.
Right.
That our disconnection from our local communities, from the reality of the physical world around us, at the hands of these aloneness generating devices that we give all of our attention to, is going to have a negative impact on the actual world.
Definitely. And, it's been said before, the internet is kind of this reality distortion environment, and people are comparing their day-to-day lives to like the best of someone's trip, or they're you see just a flood of like all of these things, and you're like, oh, I'm comparing myself to this, right? And you're feeling less than because of it. You have every. I think
if I were a dictator for a day, right? One fix, because if you've ever seen, there's I don't know if it was Gawker or it was some other website, but late internet blog era, and there was this phenomenon of the Instagram boyfriend. Right, which is the dude who is standing there taking all of the glamour shots of the smoke show Instagram influencer, right? And the pictures are hilarious because you just have this idiot, this often kind of frumpy, like relatively speaking, guy who's like. He's up to his knees in dirt and sand and mud
to get the right angle.
The girl to get the exact right angle for the perfect beauty shot of the girlfriend.
Right.
And like, if with every vacation photo or staged wedding photo that you shot, there was a drone, like your classic drone shot, like what do you call it, the Infinity Beast phone or something?
Yes.
If we had an objective capture of the scenario, like the 3 seconds before and after, you take the perfect family photo and you're like, shut up, Billy, you fucking piece of shit. And then it's like everybody smiles like snap. And then that goes on the Instagram.
And the caption is something like, very nice,
living my best life or whatever. Right. But in the reality is they fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Right. Like if somehow you could communicate that aspect of the context behind these photos, maybe, like you watch these stupid autoplay videos that show up, and it's like surprising my boyfriend with this trend question that's going on, and like getting his reaction, and it's like obviously fucking staged.
Yeah, it's very It's like why is the camera there?
Very clearly, this was all
right.
Discussed beforehand. Like, show me the pre-production meeting that went on for 20 minutes, and then show me the 4 takes that you did before you got to this one.
Right.
And put the lie to. All of this fucking horse shit that's going on. And I know, like I think people sort of get that it's horse shit, and they don't fucking care.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, deep down, you should know, because sometimes you're participating in the scam yourself. You're perpetuating, you're doing this fraudulent kind of thing, too. So it's like, why do you think that other people are not doing the same? And it's just very, very odd. But it doesn't the same. It's the same kind of thing with opinions. Like there'll be like this caricature of an opinion, like this group of people, they believe in this. It's like the worst version of whatever. But if you came across somebody who kind of was aligned with some of that, they're like, some of it I think is true, some of it is bullshit. Most people are just like, they don't put too much thought into much. But like online, you
right, and the reason that they have this radical opinion is also at its core just, well, because I don't want bad things to happen to my kids or whatever, right? Like the thing that actually motivates the hateful thing that they're sharing on Instagram is basically just, I'm just sort of afraid for my kid.
Right.
I've been doing an experiment with my Instagram the last 2 weeks. I'm trying to only like posts about tiramisu.
Oh, to try to get it to
see
yeah.
how much of my algorithm can be tiramisu. And just right now, almost half tiramisu related.
Wow. How long have you been
content.
at this? How long have you
Like a couple weeks.
Oh,
not long.
Okay. That's pretty good though.
I'm sorry. What was the instigating? How did you get all of the tiramisu content?
Well, I got one. And I really like it.
Okay.
And I think that if my and then I get a lot of these where it's like you can't really see it, but it says ways to say I love you, and then it just has emojis and then a tiramisu picture. But I have to go and like that because I only want tiramisu. Another one.
Do you have to like everything? Could you just linger on a thing? Like even lingering will do it.
So the thing is, I linger on stuff that isn't necessarily tiramisu related.
Okay.
So I have to overcompensate.
Gotcha.
Men who gift their partner tiramisu are said to have 10 years longer lifespan than other men.
10 years? It should be front page news. That's a lot of years. Have you guys seen the reactions at these, this is graduation season, these commencement addresses where some oaf is heaping the praise of AI to the graduating class who's very anxious about what AI means for their future, and usually it's met with derision and boos. This has happened I think 3 or 4 occasions where somebody's like, hey, how about this AI? The future is looking bright, and the audience is like, fuck this. The kids seem to be aware of the path is not promising with the robots and the technology that's advancing, but they're gonna have to navigate through it like everybody else. But it's
funny what you said about the internet being inevitable. We didn't choose.
Right. I mean, we didn't. Yeah.
And it's not like we could have stopped it if we'd wanted to. I saw a news article that said that Sweden is effectively smoke-free now.
Meaning cigarette smoke?
Yeah, fewer than 5% of the Swedish population smokes, and the ones who do smoke less than they did 20 years ago or whatever, right? They have through making it harder and more expensive to get cigarettes, have effectively made their whole country smoke-free. A great public health victory, no doubt.
Would that work in cultures where smoking is more prominent? I'm thinking of France when you say that. The Frenchies love
France or the Asians, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what Sweden's before this campaign how frequent and often people smoked in Sweden, but there are some places where even a French province in Canada. When I went to Montreal, I was shocked by how many people smoke just on the regular. Just it's not just like a BART, somebody in the food service who's fucking stressed out and smoking outside. It's just everybody is just smoking.
It's a cultural thing, right? I'm sure, and yeah, it in order to do the sorts of strict measures that Sweden has done over the last 20 years, you have to have larger cultural buy-in, right? This cannot come from some one crusading health advocate who's going to fix the fucking French and stop them from smoking and drinking wine or whatever.
Right. The British are deploying a different tactic. Basically, they're doing a cutoff if you're born 2000 and whatever and after, 2012 and later or whatever, you can't smoke. Basically, it's like you're grandfathered in if you're older. But like
Right.
if you're so basically, I guess they're going to try to get to Sweden's level by 2035, 2040. But that's an interesting thing to where like you could be in the same high school and seniors can smoke, but the freshmen can't because of this rule.
Right. And talk about a nightmare world where like the police are checking your
Show me your
ID
papers.
for what year you were born to see if you can,
That's right.
like, as a 35-year-old
Yeah.
adult, like, you're not permitted to do this. Like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But that speaks to it is, and I agree with you. It's sort of inconceivable to imagine that we could have stepped in the way of the internet and
Right.
and in some way prevented the world that we currently live in. And it is going to be a function of individual choice, but it is simply not plausible to live one's life without a smartphone, right?
Yes.
And so the gateway drug is always in my pocket.
Yeah.
Well, however much willpower or interest I have in limiting my exposure to it.
I mean, you've just been doing those gambling games.
Right. I've since baseball season started, basically my brain killing, stress reducing app of choice has been a slot machine game that's just free play. Like, there's no
Okay.
money, there's no actual gambling.
Is there
I'm
any
not
strategy?
even doing.
Like, are you press a
No.
button
No,
a
you
certain
just
way?
press a
Slot
button and see
machine.
what happens. It's as dumb as it's even dumber than any of the like Candy Crush or whatever the fuck. Like, it's just mind-numbingly stupid. But there's something about its mind-numbing stupidity that I jibe with, because it's like, at least I'm not getting this feeling of having accomplished something
Right.
when I do one of these other games that is definitely not accomplishing anything either, right? Like, I'm no longer lying to myself
Right.
when I do like kill all the marbles in this level. Like, oh, I beat the puzzle. It's like, no, you fucking dummy. It's just an algorithm that is designed to be hard long enough for it to be satisfying for you to enjoy it.
Right.
There's no actual like logic puzzle thing that you've overcome here. It's just a slot machine.
Right.
And so, given that fact, give me the
But it's
actual
a
slot
harmless,
machine.
Slot machine. Yeah. You're not.
Yeah, and without it costing me money,
Right, yeah.
crucially, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that fucking stupid. I forget.
We've been talking for almost 2 hours.
I know. We'll wrap up here momentarily. I was just
The internet is inevitable individual choice.
right.
Something along
So,
those
like,
lines.
what does it mean to go to Montreal and try to start an anti-smoking campaign to get
Right.
all of the French Canadians to stop smoking is a fool's errand
Right.
at this point, probably. Like, nobody's confused about the harm
Yeah,
that smoking
yeah.
does. We accept the risks there and continue to do so. It's sort of like alcohol.
Yeah.
The individual can choose not to participate, and the majority of adults don't drink every day, right? Like, we have easy access to it, and there's I forget the stats, but it's always something like 90% of the alcohol in this country is consumed by like 20% of the power users, right?
Oh, really?
And the same goes for the gambling apps and all the rest of it. The vast majority of people are spending none to $10 or something,
Yeah.
and then the power users who make up 90% of the income are like this tiny little percentage of people.
That is interesting how common that trend is. Is it just like there's just a certain number that are susceptible to something, and if it becomes available, like that population is going to get hit harder than everybody else, and it just depends.
Yeah,
on
probably. But I think that that point is not the point of our interactions with these devices, right? Like, I can choose whether or not to have FanDuel on my phone next September when football season rolls around, and whether or not I want to throw a couple $100 at the football season just for fun, right?
But if you're gripped by addiction, it's less of a choice. But yes,
right. But I know that I can make that relatively responsible choice for
Right.
myself, and it won't be a problem for my life. But what I effectively cannot do is choose to decouple my consciousness from the device entirely.
Right.
My responsibilities to my family and to the Little League and to everything else require me to have a smartphone. Never mind, like, the fact that, whether it's paying for a parking spot or
Why do I have to say this every 2 months? Give me your phone for 10 minutes, and I will fix your notifications.
I'm not, again,
and it won't bother you anymore.
Again, I'm not talking about me in this particular instance. I recognize that I maintain a certain degree of agency around my level of exposure to attention-hogging things on my phone. What I'm saying is, in the way that the internet was inescapable, the smartphone and our constantly plugged in thing is inescapable.
Yeah.
And it is the outlier weirdo. It will require a great deal of sort of personal effort and, in weird ways, bravery to be willing to step outside of this way of interacting with the world moving forward.
You would have to go through considerable effort to kind of get around it. I am mostly responsible for taking my parents to the doctor for appointments and stuff. Everything is connected to the phone. Like, there's nothing that is not. Everything that is happening is not like hard copy paper. It's all, we sent the appointment here, or the pharmacy got it. Everything is just connected through a phone or an app or something. So like, it is
right. I spend my level of interaction, like just the search function in my own Gmail, to maintain relative stability in my life. Yeah. It's like whether it's a calendar thing or something from whatever appointment I have or I'm going to, or a communication with somebody from 3 months ago. That's like, I can't keep all of this shit in my head.
Yeah.
Thank God Gmail has a search function, and I can call up previous conversations and figure out what the fuck is going on in my life.
Right.
That's inescapable, right? Like, that's and I don't know. And because and I think the point that I was trying to get to with the smoking thing is that our country, our culture, is extremely permissive in its idea of what we think people ought to be able to sell to one another, right? That, like, hey, if I've done the work and I'm operating within relatively certain bounds of commonly acceptable behavior, nobody can tell me that I can't sell this thing to this child or to this adult or to anybody else. Right. We are a culture that is very permissive in that sense.
Yeah, lacks in so many things. Like, even advertising, different countries, you can't advertise certain things to children. That's less so here.
Right, to the good, right?
Yeah.
And to the benefit of our wealth and standing in the world, largely speaking.
But also, I mean, couldn't you also argue to the detriment of the children? Like, this is like
right, and to the detriment of to the good. Right, I think is fundamentally where I'm coming down. Right. Is we are incapable of being and like, in our core, we are incapable of being a culture that is going to be willing to police ourselves in the direction of the good. Maybe it wasn't always that way. Maybe the thing that we miss about the 50s is the level of awful social opprobrium that came with stepping out of line. Right. And it was an authoritarian, culturally authoritarian, and it was real bad for a lot of folks who didn't fit in certain molds. But now it's a fucking free-for-all.
I mean, it's a picture poison. Which do you prefer, the over-the-top constrained society, or the lax society where a lot of
constrained? I pick constrained. I pick rules.
Rules. You're.
I pick that.
Wrong country for that, but yeah, I think
I'll find a way to fit in.
All right, I would play this Strassman, but I will not. He does sort of get off a good one. It's CBS News Radio.
You can have done that next week, too.
An American institution will sign off for the last time.
It's been a reliable companion for generations. Now this American institution will lose its voice.
Last time. CBS News Radio is being shuttered.
Can't believe it. Although it's been, when's the last time, I mean, other than the NPR station, when's the last time you, listen to some chuckle fucks in the morning, or some
literally years.
Yeah, right. It's been a minute.
Many years.
It's
just NPR. I don't listen to any of the local stuff.
Right.
And
sometimes I used to listen to sports
talk radio.
Yeah.
I used to listen to just commercial talk radio, and they would have Top of the News Hour with ABC News or CBS News or whoever the affiliate was. But yeah, it's been a decade or more since I was a regular listener to that sort of stuff.
Like, they couldn't wait for one more year. I think they would have gone to clean 100 if they waited one more
99 years. And instead, we now get all of our news from fucking TikTok and Instagram.
Right, yeah. That's right.
I don't get any of my news from those places. I get them from football podcasts.
There you go.
All right, you've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. You can find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com. For more from us, the opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Mark Gillig, tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com. For more from Mark, Abe, have you made it to the movies lately?
Yes, I have. I went to go see this movie, Obsession. It's kind of a horror movie. There's been a lot of horror movies
People
in
are talking
theaters
about that one.
over the last month. You know, usually in the past, I mean, horror movies, because they're relatively cheap to make, they're profitable, but they're usually released in the fall during the Halloween time, in the winter. But the last month, there's been like 3 or 4 of them, and they're all like hits. And there's another one coming out next week. This one was well regarded, very entertaining movie. I will say though, the main character of this movie is a total twat. So the story goes, there's this sheepish dude who's like in love with some coworker, and she's like, you know, doesn't care too much about him, you know, but she's like friend, you know, they're friends. She's like they're in the circle of friends, and he's like, I'm gonna ask her to kind of like change our dynamic. He stops by someplace and he gets one of those like Make-A-Wish kind of sticks. Like One Wish Willow is what they call it. He snaps it, and then she's under his thrall. Like, she's basically like whatever he wants, she's gonna accommodate, but like in the extreme. She's like over the top obsessive over him. But it's not her. Like, some demon has taken over her body.
This has been there've been a couple of these, right? Like,
yeah, there's been
we had the Channing Tatum one, like a Rape Island.
Oh, that one, yes. Yeah, where they would, like, knock him out. But this one was basically, like...
No, this is a Buffy episode.
And then You're
thinking of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, also, like, Monkey's Paw
There was
episode.
the Robot Girlfriend horror movie, right? Where she realizes that she's, like, dumber than... Like, he programmed her to be dumber than...
That's right, yeah. There have been a few, yeah. So this is along the same line. And the whole movie is just him... like not doing the right thing at any point. Like, I don't think initially he was like, oh, this fucking little stick thing worked. Like, he did it on a lark. He didn't think magic worked, right? He's like, whatever. Right. And it worked, and she was like way into him. Like, she wouldn't like let him out of his sight. And he's like, yeah, she's being a little weird. But he's like trying to make it work. She's like hurting his friends. Like, anytime somebody gets close to him, like especially if it's a girl in the circle of friends, she goes berserk. Like, this should be like, hey, this is not gonna work out, I'm gone. He's like, don't do it again, and he keeps on giving her one more chance because he's a piece of shit, and he knows that the real woman inside the body is there, but she's like, kill me, please. Like, the demon is asleep right now, and I'm like blinking at you in your general direction. Please kill me. And he's like, what's so bad about liking me? Like, he can't like get to the fact that somebody is in a bad way, and he does nothing to help her. The way that movie ends, I'll leave to anyone who wants to go see it. I didn't spoil anything beyond what's in the trailer, but it's a good movie. But just like the character is just very obnoxious the whole way. There's nothing redeeming about the guy, and he's always like, I'm the nice, you know, like one of those asshole types.
Right. Yeah.
But
that sounds fun.
Yeah, fun movie. And then
like it.
on the TV front, the Survivor Season 50 finale was this past week. You know, the season came and went.
Congratulations.
They finally got to the live reunion. This was a budget cut thing, a casualty of COVID. They never got back to it. You know, they were like, oh, we'll just do it in the island. And they're like, hey, we're going to save money. So they never got back to it, but it was the 50th, so they had to do it. And Jeff Probst, maybe he was lacking practice, but he fucked up by divulging something that hasn't happened to us. Like, he's like, hey, let's invite the guy who just got eliminated, but they didn't show that scene yet. They're like, so he's interviewing a guy who got eliminated in some sort of fire-making challenge before they showed the fire-making challenge on TV.
Wait, so the live reunion is airing as the finale is airing as well?
Okay, so the way Survivor works is that they film in the summer. Like right now, they're filming season 51, 52. But so this 50th season was filmed last year, so it's in the can. But they were gonna invite all of the people, contestants and past contestants in Los Angeles to do a live viewing. Basically, it's like a live viewing of something that no one outside of the group was on the island has seen. And so he kind of
so now we're going to talk about it. Now let's go to the tape and watch.
But it went to commercial break, and then he got back. He's like, oh, I fucked up. I don't know what happened. Let me just show you. You guys know what happens, and here we go. But it was a overall entertaining season. It's over now, and 51 will start in the fall.
Can't wait. Is that it? You didn't go see Mandalorian and Grogu in the theater?
So I had it on because it's a holiday today. Usually I try to go to see a movie on the holiday, out of respect. And I was like, fuck it. It was raining. I just stayed in. So maybe I'll watch it later this week. I have
it made some money, right? Like $100 million,
but
including
I think
today?
it's the lowest grossing Star Wars orbit movie ever. But yeah, it made barely 100 over 4 days. It was like 80 million over the 3-day weekend.
I enjoyed the first couple seasons of.
So that was my hang up. I have not seen any of the TV show side. So I was like, will I not get what the hell's going on? Do I need to see some of the TV show to get it? So I was like, I'll just watch it some other time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the first couple seasons. Then they had this big moment at the end of season 2, where little baby Yoda, Grogu, like fucks off to go with Luke Skywalker to train to become a Jedi Master or whatever. And then there's a whole season of the Boba Fett show where Mando and Grogu have some adventures, and then they came back from and if you didn't watch that, you come back to season 3 or 4 or whatever it was of The Mandalorian, and they will have done all of this shit off screen that they don't address. And so the last time we saw these characters, they were splitting up, but now they're back to doing tricks and stunts and going on adventures together. And it's like, but we had an agreement, which is that you're going to tell me the story during this television show, and I don't have to watch some other entire fucking television show. I think I complained about it on this podcast.
You complained about it yesterday to Duncan.
Yeah, I also complained about it to my brother. Anyway.
You're not alone in that complaint. I haven't seen this. Did other people notice that they did not explain?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, it's stupid. Anyway, I didn't feel any great compulsion to go see this movie.
It is weird. It is a Star Wars has
to do movies.
Star Wars has historically been a cash cow. It seems like they have milked it dry.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they've got the Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah,
I think it's going to be called Starfighter.
Is that next year or this year? Is it on the calendar this year?
I think it's next year.
Next year, okay. But I'm sure that movie will do okay.
Yeah.
This one, there's no faces. It's just some green.
So we watched with Calvin, not Katie, that 65 movie
with Adam Driver.
With Adam Driver.
That movie sucked.
We watched the Yogurt Shop Murders epilogue, basically.
Yeah, we watched Yogurt Shop Murders last year when it came out, and it was about the Austin, Texas killing of 4 teenage girls and the false confessions and convictions of a couple of dudes there.
Was this an updated version? What was this?
This was a...
They put out a final episode because...
solved.
They solved the fucking murder.
No
the
shit.
whole thing was as meditation on what an unsolved murder can do to tear a community apart. And then in now the final episode of it, they solved it. They figured it out.
Was
it
that DNA thing or what was?
Yeah, DNA thing. They finally got a hit on a DNA thing, and there was a fucking serial killer who used to go about the country raping and killing people in much the fashion that he did in Austin, Texas.
Is the guy was he still alive or did he?
No, he's dead.
So he got away with it. Where's the justice in that?
Well, that's what's funny is they interview all of these people and they're like, I can be at peace now because I know who did it. And it's like, well, but he's dead.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Having not ever experienced it, I just have so much trouble. I guess because I think, like, when I think of these girls who were murdered, I don't think of how I would feel about it. I think about the shame of, like, what's been taken from these girls. And it seems like with a lot of these people, it's much more about themselves.
Well, they have to be alive
I know.
still.
They still have to be alive. But, like, people are so...
Way rather be dead.
People are so fucking self-obsessed even when, like, their daughter has been murdered.
No, I think it's the not knowing.
Yeah.
And it's never a serial killer, so it's got to be somebody around here.
Right.
Like, which of you fuckers did it?
So was it like a random
And it wasn't.
thing?
It was just a serial killer.
But did the serial killer like scout the like he just happened to just be?
It was seemingly it was like a crime of opportunity.
Wow. Yeah.
He had a hankering for tying up and raping girls and women, and he saw an opportunity to do it here in this yogurt shop.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You also watched that Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but back to 65 real quick. Don't watch 65. I will say, like, early on, I was impressed by Adam Driver's performance because he's
good.
He's a very good actor, and his commitment to the bit was sincere and complete. But this is just entirely a fucking worthless piece of shit movie. I have no idea.
I remember watching. It was like 65 million years ago. Something dinosaur or
Yeah.
something.
65 million. So yeah, the premise is that he is sort of like a freighter. Like he's a hired gun to get, or a hired pilot to get these people from
He's
one
an Uber driver in the past, very far away.
Oh.
right, to get these people from one side of the galaxy to another, and has the rather bad luck of his ship getting, intersecting with the path of a previously undisclosed or undiscovered large asteroid, and like that jolts him out of sleep and damages the ship such that he is forced to crash land it on this planet, and the planet, of course, turns out to be Earth.
Okay.
And the 65 is 65 million years ago, and the asteroid that he hit happens to be the one that is going to kill all the dinosaurs. And so he's had the incredible bad luck of running into the asteroid, but the incredible good luck of landing on the only planet in the known nearby universe that could hospitably host him for the next 24 to 36 hours, when he realizes that asteroid is going to land very nearby to him on this fairly large planet. And
We need to go.
And we need to go. We need to go now, is what he says. And there's like a survival adventure story with him and this young girl, a surrogate daughter type, who doesn't speak the language that he does, and they have to get off the planet. Anyway, it's a piece of shit movie.
You talked about it too much already.
Calvin liked it a lot.
Oh yeah, you a big
Well,
fan?
Yeah.
And then we watched Lord of the Rings.
And we watched The
For-
Return of the King.
for
which-
like a full day somehow.
The original
I
cut?
don't know how a movie can be as long and as gay. Both
pretty
long, just as gay as it is long. Lord of the Rings final movie.
The Return of the King, is that the one?
Return
Yeah.
of the King. It's a good movie. The ending is one of the movie ends like 4 times famously, like fades to black and then fades back
Yeah.
in on another scene. It's like, do you understand how bad I have to pee right now, you fucking savages? But like that was my primary memory of that movie, because I went to see it. I think I went to see the midnight showing at the Carmike in Athens when it came out. And I had to piss so bad at the end of that movie, and they kept showing more of the movie. But yes, the slow motion hobbits joyously jumping on each other in the large bed is just the gayest thing that's ever been put to film,
It's one of the,
including
no, there are
including
the looks at each
actual
other.
hardcore pornography.
Yeah,
It's the looks
Yeah, what was up with
at
all those
one
looks?
another. And then at the end, where Sam marries his mom, gay.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what the directions are on the screenplay. Like when they're looking at each other, like it can't be anything like romantic, but like the way it was executed.
I think it is.
You think
I
like
mean,
on the
they've
page
got
it
like
reads,
Vaseline smeared all over the camera lens. It's very soft focus and slow motion, and yeah, it's great. I mean, I love the movie. I will say about, and I have not ever read the books, and I've always been meaning to read the books, and I'll get around to it eventually. I have always struggled with the fact that no one chooses to throw the ring into the lava there, and that instead it requires a sort of accident or an act of pure self-interest. And I what it is it's Tolkien's belief in the ultimate evil, that the human, because this is it's a deeply religious text, right. Lord of the Rings is, as allegory, and like the idea here is that the human animal, or really any sort of human consciousness, because the hobbits aren't precisely speaking, strictly speaking, humans, but that man is so inherently corruptible that even the best of us will fall prey to evil, right, when it is put before us in its unvarnished fashion, and the will to power that the ring represents. Come on, children.
Come here. Yeah, Katie, come here. Tell in the microphone what you said earlier today about who the hero of Lord of the Rings should be.
I thought the real hero should have been Sam.
I think that Sam is the real hero.
Oh.
I don't think there's a question. He's the one who actually did the stuff.
Because Frodo was too
Frodo's
weak.
weak.
Frodo.
All right.
But Sam can't
Go
swim.
to bed.
Largely correct take from the children there. Samwise is the hero of the story.
He's the one that had he's the one that couldn't swim, right?
Yeah, none of the hobbits swim. They're not built to be swimmers.
They have those feet. This is a stupid movie.
Although that one fella, it doesn't matter. Crucially, why Sam is able to behave in heroic fashion and be the good guy is because he does not have to carry the burden of the ring, right? The ring is all corrupting, and no amount of goodness or human will is able to overcome the power of the ring, is what Tolkien is getting at here. In the very sort of Christian or Catholic religious sense of we are all sullied by original sin, right? And that we will all be... What are you giggling about over there?
Nothing.
And that it sort of bums me out that like we have this what's effectively a hero's journey, and yes, like it would have been a very difficult thing for Frodo, and fundamentally Tolkien believes it was actually impossible for Frodo to choose to throw the ring into the lava, right, and destroy it because the ring was just too powerful. And so instead we get the Gollum character trying to steal the ring back, and there's this fight, and Gollum is sort of flung into the lava, and the ring is destroyed in that fashion. I just wonder if there's not a way that it could have been done in a self-sacrificing sort of way. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just I have this, I think fundamentally it becomes a story of man subject to the world rather than man having agency in the world, that I'm glad is not the way I see the world, right? Like I think that Tolkien and I fundamentally see the human animal in different ways.
But I mean, it does track with his religious thinking.
Yeah,
right?
certainly.
So.
Yeah, it's like thematically, I think it all checks out and it's all fine. I wonder. It's interesting to me the place of prominence that story has in the culture, given what it says about human beings.
But I mean,
Anyway.
this is a very common kind of theme, right? That absolute power corrupts absolutely kind of thing. Like it's a very common thing. Like,
Yeah, for sure. It's not. It's good. It's fine. It's also, like, to its credit, and of course, it sort of gets, like, a lot of what Game of Thrones is taking the piss out of Lord of the Rings, but really a lot of the high fantasy that followed on from Lord of the Rings, right? Less a direct commentary on Tolkien and more about what fantasy had become before George R.R. Martin got around to doing his thing. It's not a hero's journey in the way that a lot of, like, popular crowd-pleasing art often is, and so, like, I give it credit for that. That is interesting in its own right.
yeah, because the hero's journey hinges on overcoming an obstacle, right? And he did not overcome it.
Right. He ultimately succumbed to it, as Tolkien would believe he had ultimately no choice but to do. Anyway, it's a great movie.
Anyway, we watched it.
We watched it. It's way too goddamn long, and that there's 50 more minutes in the extended version.
There isn't.
It's 3.5 hours as is, and the extended version is 4 hours and 23 minutes.
I remember I watched that in the theater a few years when they did, like, the release. I think with the 20th anniversary or something.
Yeah.
Had to you had to figure out how much you wanted to, like, soda to drink. Like, I basically, like, was sipping my Coke.
You know what? You can skip large parts of that
Yeah.
movie.
But you don't know which
You
parts.
can
It's like,
skip most of the movie if you want. Go take a pee break.
I was
You're
able
fine.
to, 4 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it was without peeing. It was great.
The orcs and all of their
It's so lame.
talking are so anachronistic relative to everything else. Like, there's something very funny about, like, Viggo Mortensen trying to do sort of old high English or something, and, like, the way a lot of these characters talk, and then it's like, oh, well, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys, and, like, that's the famous one. But it's anytime the orcs talk, it's like, who are these
I had my
weirdo
eyes-
20th century people?
My eyes were on my crochet project. I was not watching this movie.
Yeah.
I could tell you what every character looked like by their cartoon character. Oh, this one's going to be a pretty one.
Yeah.
This one's going to be an ugly
Yeah.
one. Like,
Yeah.
never wrong. It's just right there. I do not understand what people like about these movies.
That's why I won all those awards. But didn't it cleaned up at the Oscars that year, right? Like
Great makeup, great visual. Like, it was
Yeah.
good at a lot of things,
Yeah.
but, like, I don't get it. It's fine. It's not for me.
Anything else that we watched?
Nope. We played Rayman.
That's right.
We looked at space pictures.
Yeah, we watched some videos of, like,
It was not video.
well, anyway, we went down a rabbit hole with, like, the scale of the universe, basically, and I ended up talking to the robot and asking it, like, what is the size relationship between, like, the atom, like a single atom, and a human being. So if an atom is to a human as a human is to a what?
Right.
And the robot came back with 13 suns.
Humans and atoms are the same size, is basically what it
what?
said.
And right, so like a single atom is this relative size to a human that the human is to 13 of our suns,
Good
or a particularly, like, medium-sized star, right? Like a bigger than our star, not one of the biggest stars in the universe, but a pretty good sized star. And then I was like, all right, so on 100-yard, like, because everything is just a football field, right? So I'm like, so if I'm understanding this correctly,
You know what existed in that 65 movie? The metric system.
that was funny. Yeah, Adam Driver is using a device 65 million years old to determine distance, and the little robot computer tells him it's 15 kilometers away. It's like, wait a second.
That's what was created when God created
It's an
the universe.
alternate timeline, you know.
The
They have
universe and the metric system.
Anyway, so I'm like, so imagine the atom and the human being on a football field that is the size of like 13 suns, basically, right? So like where on the, and it's effectively, we're both on the 0 yard line, right?
Wow.
Like if that's the thing that you're worried about, that's where we are. And it's like,
No.
and that's just like 13 suns, a sun 13 times the size of our sun is nothing.
in the grand scheme of things, yes, but it's still.
Right, and we're looking at these pictures of like Hubble and the James Webb telescope images, and every little speck that you see isn't a star, but is instead a galaxy, right? And it's like when you start thinking, and there's hundreds of billions of stars or whatever in each galaxy, and it's like when you start thinking about it, how is it not? Like, because for me, it is
Probably Adam Driver lives somewhere out there.
it is personally like existentially horrifying, right? And I have this recurring nightmare that I'm sure I've described to various people before, but it's hard for me to explain, except that my notion of scale is being distorted such that I am way too small compared to something else in the like whatever it is out there in the world. And then when I try to reground myself in reality, I become much too big for the reality. Like and that is my fundamental nightmare. Is this distortion of scale that puts my consciousness at odds with the scale of the things around me, either in the direction of me being too small or in the direction of me feeling sort of almost too big.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
Right. And like I think that is sort of, if I think about like what Stephen King is doing or any of the other horror stuff that I've read is doing, it is the fundamental fear is one of things being disproportionately out of scale with the self. And it just sounds like some fucking freshman year fucking way too high for your own good kind of stuff to be thinking about. But like we should really do a better job of grappling with the actual scale of the universe, because just to imagine, because the way that James Webb works is it's effectively, if you hold a piece of sand out on the end of your finger up to the sky, and you look at one of these James Webb images, all it's taking a picture of that much of the sky. When you look at one of these things that has like thousands of galaxies in the picture, and like and most of space is just empty, and we're just seeing years and years, millions of light years of light coming to us from the past. And so like there's that part of it which gets confused in your head, which is like I'm looking at something that doesn't actually exist anymore.
But that's true for everything in a way.
In the way, like we couldn't go there, right? Because it's so old and far away. But still, it's like it is just the idea that we know anything about anything completely falls apart when you look at this photo that has 1,000 galaxies in it, that is just one speck of sand relative to your expansive view of the heavens.
Then you poo-poo when I say, how do people think they know things? You're like, oh, they know. They're scientists.
No, it's remarkable that you can, using like fucking radio spectrometry or whatever the fuck they're doing, like we know effectively what the stuff is made of, right? Like we sort of have this idea based on its chemical signature or its infrared signature of what's out there. But like, we don't know what's going on in there. Right?
But for
like,
a long,
we don't,
I mean, people were just.
We assume that we're alone, right? We assume that there's nothing else going on. But we would have literally no way of knowing what's going on in any one of these hundreds of billions of other galaxies that are so far away and so far in the past. And still I suspect that we are this unique and unusual reaction of the universe becoming, right? Like, still, I look at what's going on out there, and I watched one of these vast gaseous clouds in space, where it's like fingers of interstellar clouds and dust reaching out to one another. It's just this chemical and physical reaction happening that we are one version of, right? And like there's this pointlessness to so much of creation out there in the world where the result is nothing, that nothing ever happens, that it's just fucking carbon and silicone and they're just smashing together, and nitrogen happens and hydrogen happens and who knows what the fuck else happens out there. And also, like, here we are, like conscious observers of all of it. By sheer accident, because I'm sorry, you can't look at it and be like, "Oh, good work, God!" Right? Like you can't be like, "Oh,
he made the metric system.
What a great
Bob.
idea all of this was." Like I operate from the fundamental understanding that like we're just happenstance, that by some mysterious accident of physical reality, this was what happened. That somehow the universe manifested a special thing. Like consciousness is such a weird fucking thing.
That's why. Right? Yeah, I wonder if like there's likely life out there, but I wonder if there's like consciousness out there. Like, is there some other crop of whatever? Like they don't have to look like us, but and they're like looking out. Like, hey, what the fuck is going on out there? Like, you think we're alone in that?
Does it have to be physical matter for it to be consciousness? We don't fucking know. We don't fucking know. Yeah. Stop pretending to know.
But in defense of the arrogant humans, for most of human history, we didn't have the technology to show how little we know, and so they were working with what we had.
We thought we did that.
Yeah. But that's true. But now people,
we were like, oh, we know now.
But with the limited information people
not
had
like
back in
those
the
dummies
day.
before us.
It's all these faith traditions that people are holding on to. But once that is passed, people will have new models of reality. Because so far, the models of reality we have are inadequate.
Except that, so this is where, and this is truly, you hit the bong, and I apologize. But, like, if the singularity is inevitable, then the most likely outcome is that it has already happened, right? The chances that we are living on the verge of some great transition point in technological and human and cultural history are basically none, right? Like, the idea that somehow now, because every fucking human civilization believes here we are at the most consequential moment in the history of civilization, or the history of history. And it's super unlikely that if AI is going to develop in such a way that a simulation like our current reality is possible, then it has already happened.
Yes, perhaps.
And that we are, like, that's the argument about how we must be living in a simulation. Because if it's possible that we will eventually be living in a simulation, then the far greater chance is that we already are. Right? Rather than we have not yet achieved it. And so my opinion, therefore, becomes to deny the possibility that we will eventually have the technology to be living in a simulation, because I reject that we are currently living in a simulation. And I sort of agree that if it can happen, then it is almost certain that we all are already living in one.
Right. But if that idea gained traction, won't people behave in more irresponsible ways? Like, oh, this is a simulation, doesn't matter, stabby.
No, not necessarily.
Like all the crazy people, maybe they've come to that conclusion, and that's why we call them crazy?
Well, some of them have.
Right.
But there would be no way of knowing.
Yeah.
I don't see how it matters.
It will come down to, like, people effectively having a sort of Pascal's wager with reality, which is like, I think it is more likely than not that we are living in a simulation, but also because it's sort of inescapable, it would be wrong of me to behave entirely irresponsibly.
Steak tastes good.
Right. But to be fair, other generations, they're also rans, but like us, this is, I mean, a lot has happened over the last 100 years, like so much. Like for many in the past, generation after generation, same shit. You did what your father did and what their father did, and you're in this plot of land, and you knew the same people. Like, and half of your siblings are dead by the age of 5. Like, just a very similar experience for like so many years. And now, look at us now.
I know. I mean, I fully support and recognize the reality of that argument that we really are living in unprecedented, consequential times. It's just I want to also hold in my head like, surely we're not actually living at the time of the
probably
the apocalypse or the singularity or whichever way it's going to go.
We kind of need to go to bed.
No. Yeah, we probably should.
We have to eat a cookie right before bed. You'll have gas in the morning.
Well, I'm old now, and that happens sometimes. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we'll talk to you next time.
Later.
And tomorrow we're down to just 40% chance and 1/10 of an inch, so things are looking up. I just have to
but
remove,
the issue is,
I have to remove so much moisture from the field tomorrow, and we'll see how successful I am at doing that. I don't care. As long as it's not raining and I can get the puddles off the field, they can play in the fucking 3 inches of mud. We have to get the goddamn games in.
The SEC championship was in the mud.
Oh, yeah.
Was it?
Georgia won the SEC
That's
tournament.
right. Yeah. Nice.
Although no team has ever won the SEC tournament and then gone on to win the College World Series, so that's a bummer.
But also Georgia had never won the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
So
It's a new day.
So
Unprecedented times, Bob.
she said on Sunday night she heard a drone at full speed coming towards her because they were in the bunker, but there was a break, and so she went upstairs to like brush her teeth, and so the cat could use the litter box, and she heard a drone, and she was just like, nothing I can do.
Yeah, what can you do? Can you like duck and cover?
Not at that speed, not that quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can go to the bunker, but not. You can't teleport. So
did it like just change course,
building,
or was
so
did it change course?
it
or?
went by?
Okay, man, that's the bogus future right there. These fucking cheap drones are going to be the bane of our existence the next 10 years. It's going to be just random ass drones, terrorist attacks on the
I
homeland.
mean, I think I've said on the show before, like, how is it that we are not enduring a constant barrage of it?
Because I don't think the FAA is doing that much monitoring on that. You know, they have that 400-foot or whatever, like, just to clear the airspace thing. But I don't think there's a lot of, like, regulation.
Just comically easy to just have a $200 drone that can do.
Well, not there. These drones are much
more than that.
No,
But
I know. It wouldn't be hard to modify any of these readily commercially available drones to do bad shit.
Yeah, you need one that can sustain whatever the payload of the weapon is, and then it's going to be like you see in Ukraine where they have all those like mesh netting, like to kind of make sure that people can drive through like dangerous war zone
like
areas.
a football game or a baseball game, and you just like send 10 of them into the crowd, and like fucking there's 100 people who have serious injuries.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah. Thankfully, no one has done it yet, but we'll see.
Now I put the idea in your head.
You don't even have to be in a place to make
That's
it happen.
right.
No. Nothing funny happened where I was.
At the Grand Canyon. It couldn't have been me. Yeah, that's a good point.
When are you going? I forget.
In like 2-3 weeks or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You really pack these trips in here in a quick succession.
I'm a very big fan of the spinning.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.